guest took over a television studio in a year in which it lost over $600,000 as I read it, and let's see, 600 I wrote down, and $65,000. And 6 years later, she sold it for $17 million, which is not bad for a girl who was fired by Ziegfeld. But that's probably not the most interesting thing about her. The most interesting thing about her is that she's one of the great comic actresses, I think, that this country has produced, who often plays a sort of American institution, I think it's safe to say, Lucille Ball. Why did you suddenly change your posture there?
I saw where you were looking.
It's a relief. No one on tonight's show has worn hot pants. Last night, Carol Channing and Marlo Thomas.
You were up to here in hot pants, weren't you?
I was. They had more skin showing than I have, I think. It was too much.
Well, I have hot pants, but I'm saving them. You've been gone 2 weeks.
Talk that way in front of your daughter.
Yes.
I called you an American institution, which sounds a bit.
You did?
Much when in the introduction, yeah. But that's safe to say, I think. There's no... You're sort of a landmark, like...
How old do you have to be an institution?
Well, there's some new institutions. There's some...
I don't mind. I really like it.
You were fired by Ziegfeld. Can you remember that?
Indeed, I can.
The moment?
Yes, I can.
I never heard you tell that.
No, I've never told it.
Next question is, am I about to hear you tell it?
Well, yes. It's hard to believe. But when I came to this town, all I knew about was trying to get into vaudeville. Mm-hmm. And I never got near even an agent. I never got inside a building, an office, anything that had anything to do with vaudeville. But finally, some girls that I met that were starving along with me were going to a call at the Ziegfeld Theater.
Casting call?
Yes, for a third road show of Rio Rita. It's many, many years ago. And I made it. I made the call. I was chosen. One of I don't know how many, I've forgotten. And I kept that job for 5 days. That was the longest I'd ever kept any job. That was just in rehearsal, of course. Yeah. And at the end of 5 days, they just very, culled us out like that. That's it. Goodbye.
Not even sweet about it.
Well, they didn't even know our names. Mm-hmm. So I was so terrified because I'd already written home and told everyone that I was a Ziegfeld girl. I didn't say that I was just going on the road and something, but it sounded great in Jamestown, New York. And I was out on the street, literally. Even the theater's gone now. But I was right out there on that street, whatever it was, where the Ziegfeld Theater was, and I was crying. And I just wouldn't leave the area, wouldn't leave the premises. Everybody else had gone home, but I just stood there crying. And a man came out. His name, I think, was Henry Sharp. I'm not sure. He's dead now. But he was a right-hand man of Mr. Ziegfeld. And he said, "What's the matter?" And I told him. And I was sobbing, and he said, "Well, it's ridiculous to stand there and cry. There are other jobs." He didn't know that I had never been anywhere near a job before that. And he said, "The thing for you to do is just go on about your life, find another job." Well, sounded so sad. And he walked away, and I followed him for about 2 blocks like an idiot, and sobbing and being, "You've never heard this either, Lucy." And I just cried so. And he finally said, will you go away? Stop following me. You get me arrested. So I stopped, and I turned the other way, and I went toward Fifth Avenue. And I remember saying, I've got to kill myself. I've got to die. I can't tell anybody at home what's happened to me. So I tried to figure how I'd do it.
You were serious?
Oh, yes. I was
depressed.
Not quite serious enough to do it, but I thought I was. I was so depressed. Well, I was only 16. Yeah. And I walked toward Fifth Avenue, and a big limousine passed. Huge limousine. I hadn't seen anything that big in my life. And I thought, if you're going to get hit by a big one, in case you don't die, So I tried to throw myself in front of the limousine. Instead of that, it just stopped. So I picked myself up, and I went on back to my little room. That was the end of my suicide attempt.
And if it hadn't,
it's true, though.
If that car had been going faster, I would be talking to an empty chair.
2 empty chairs.
Yeah.
Did you run away from home, or have I got it wrong? There are various versions of...
Well, there are various versions, because until Lucy was a certain age, I didn't want her to know it.
What?
I want to hear this.
Well,
Is she that age now?
I didn't really run away. Yeah, she's old enough now to hear anything, and she has. I didn't really run away. The first time I went away, I was allowed to go away and stay with friends of the family here in New York City. They lived on Dyckman Street, and I went to the John Murray Anderson Robert Milton Dramatic School. And perhaps you might have read that John Murray Anderson, who is now deceased, I think, wrote, and doesn't know me, neither does Robert Milton. Now, they don't remember. Betty Davis was the star pupil there at the time, and they wrote a letter to my mother and said she was wasting her money.
You or Betty Davis?
Me?
So you were wasting your money?
Yeah, my mother was wasting her money.
Oh, yeah.
So that ended my...
You read what a good listener I am.
Yes.
No,
that ended my dramatic school training. So I went back to school in Jamestown, and I stayed there for another semester or two, and then again I went away to New York, always with permission.
Yeah.
Once I ran away without permission, and I got about as far as 3 blocks, and there was my mother with a lunch and an umbrella.
Aww.
She knew I was going. She was watching the whole thing and just said, "Here you are. You might need these."
Sounds just like Dee Dee. Exactly.
Yeah.
When you went through all that, then it must have really, as you were going along, finally beginning to get into the business and beginning to move, when you run into the people who make it hard for you on the way up, you must really learn to hate them. Don't you?
I never ran into anyone who really tried to make it hard for me. Because, and I'll tell you why I say that. If anyone was trying to make it hard for me, I wasn't aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so grateful to be any part of the business that I was unaware of anything else. I was a part of it. I didn't care what I did. They never had to ask me twice to do anything.
And has that lasted this long, or is it now just a business to you in a sense?
No, it still lasts. I love being a part of it. I'm getting an award Thursday night that is probably the biggest thrill that anyone could have. You can get a lot of awards in this business, but some of them are very, very special because they're not doled out, too generously. But to be recognized as someone who has really contributed, that's important to me.
Lucie's the only woman to ever get this award. That's why we're back here.
Yeah, you're presenting it, or you're...
No, I'm not presenting. I'm at the banquet
you're on the
and in the
program,
show,
because
on the
that's in the
program.
thing, yeah,
but
yeah.
she's the only woman to ever receive this.
To be
Do either of you have a desire to... Does either of you, or all three of you? What word means all three of you? Do any of you?
Use all.
I'm new to your language. Use all, yeah.
Use all.
To do serious stuff... I don't know. I don't see why comedians should. That always implies that you're not really doing anything good until you do serious stuff. And,
I've never had that. Have you?
No.
My mother has done some fantastic serious things, though. Some movies have made me cry. They've been so very dramatic. And did you ever see Big Street?
Big Street.
With Henry Fonda, when she played that lady that was crippled with the little dog and...
I didn't see it.
Yeah, he pushed her all the way to Miami, just walking with a wheelchair.
He did? It was terrible.
You will watch that and like it.
She was so mean.
It's been rerun for 20 years on the tube.
And I cry every time.
I meant like now would it be pointless for you to do Chekhov or...
It would be pointless for me to do Chekhov at any time.
Yeah.
I'm just not interested in it. I enjoy watching it.
Yeah.
But I have no desire to do it.
There always is that kind of snobism about comedy that as soon as a comedian does something serious, they say, gee, she can really act, as if comedy were that easy. There's a story about Shaw was directing some famous tragic actor in his first comedy, and the guy was sort of fooling around, and it made Shaw mad. And he said, tragedy, what you're doing is all very well for tragedy. Comedy is serious business.
That's right.
It's kind of nuts, isn't it?
Yes, and it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I get all the seriousness that I can take, and I know Carol does.
Yeah.
Carol's imitations, Carol's takeoffs on what she has been doing in the last couple of years are fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And that's true. That's serious business, Mrs. Carol. Fantastic.
Well, our local stations have a message, and we will return.